I'm standing behind the counter at a small pharmacy in Amsterdam when this guy walks in, sunburned and frantic. He's waving his empty water bottle at me like it's evidence in a court case. "Your water is broken," he says. I blink. "Sorry, what?" "The water. From the tap. It's broken. It tastes weird and it's making me sick." I look at his bottle. It's filled with regular tap water. Amsterdam tap water is some of the cleanest in Europe. We drink it straight from the canal pumps during King's Day. "That's just how our water tastes," I tell him. "It's perfectly safe." He shakes his head. "No way. In America, water doesn't taste like anything. This tastes like minerals or something. I need bottled water. The American kind. The American kind of water." I sell him a six-pack of Evian and watch him leave, muttering about European plumbing. But that was nothing compared to the woman in Stockholm who asked my colleague where she could buy ice. Not a bag of ice, just ice. She wanted to know which store sold it by the cube. Or the guy in Prague who got genuinely angry that the train station didn't have a Starbucks. Not a coffee shop. Starbucks specifically. He kept saying, "But there's one in every airport in America." My friend who works there tried explaining that Prague's main train station was built in 1871, long before Frappuccinos existed. The guy just stared at her like she'd said something in Klingon. Then there was the couple in Buenos Aires who walked into a restaurant at 11 p.m., looked around at the empty tables, and asked if they were closed. The host said no, they were open. The couple left anyway, saying the place must not be good if nobody's here. In Argentina, 11 p.m. is when dinner starts. By midnight, that restaurant was packed. These moments happen every single day across the world. And I'm not just talking about once-in-a-while mix-ups. I mean constant, repeated situations where Americans abroad seem to operate on a completely different frequency from everyone else. If you notice the patterns behind these moments, the cultural wiring beneath the confusion, that's exactly what this channel breaks down. I decode how behavior shifts when borders do. If that perspective interests you, you're in the right place. After working in tourism and service for 8 years across 4 countries, I've seen patterns emerge. The same confusions, the same confident mistakes, the same bewildered faces when reality doesn't match expectations. So let me walk you through what actually happens out here. These aren't mean-spirited stories. Most of these travelers are genuinely trying their best. But something about leaving American soil seems to create a gap between what they expect and what they find. And that gap? That's where things get interesting. My first job in Europe was at a hotel in Copenhagen. Small place, 20 rooms, right near Nyhavn. We got a lot of American tourists because of the colorful buildings and the Little Mermaid statue. This one guest checked in on a Thursday afternoon. Nice guy, probably mid-50s, business casual clothes, rolling suitcase covered in airline tags. He seemed normal, polite, tipped me $10 for carrying his bag up one flight of stairs, which was weird because we don't really do that here, but okay. 2 hours later, he called down to the desk. I picked up. "Hey, yeah, the air conditioning isn't working," he said. "I'm sorry, sir. We don't have air conditioning." Long pause. "What do you mean you don't have air conditioning?" "The building doesn't have it. Most buildings in Copenhagen don't. We rarely need it." "But it's like 75 degrees up here." "Yes, that's about 24 Celsius. That's warm for us. You can open the window. There's a nice breeze this evening." Another pause. Longer this time. "I paid $200 a night for this room." "Yes, sir. And there's no AC." "Correct." He hung up. 20 minutes later, he was downstairs asking if we had any other rooms with air conditioning. We didn't. None of them did. Most people stop at the funny story. But I track what these misunderstandings reveal. The quiet rules that shape how cultures see comfort, time, and respect. If that kind of analysis makes you pause, you'll want to stay tuned. He ended up checking out the next morning and leaving a review saying we falsely advertised climate control. We had never advertised climate control. Our website specifically mentioned opening windows for fresh air. The thing is, air conditioning just isn't standard in a lot of Northern Europe. Our summers are mild. Our buildings are old and well insulated. We designed them for cold winters, not hot summers. But try explaining that to someone from Arizona who considers AC a basic human right. I saw this same confusion play out differently in Poland. My cousin works at a post office in Krakow, right in the old town near the main square. An American woman came in wanting to mail a package back home. Standard stuff. My cousin weighed it, calculated the price, told her it would be about 60 zloty. The woman pulled out a credit card. "We only take cash," my cousin said. "What? Why?" "The post office doesn't have card machines." The woman looked around like she was on a prank show. "How is that possible?" "It's 2024, my cousin just shrugged. "There's an ATM 2 blocks down on Florianska Street." The woman didn't move. She stood there holding her Visa card like it was a magic wand that should work anywhere. This is insane. In America, everywhere takes cards. Even food trucks take cards. "This is Poland," my cousin said. The woman left without mailing her package. My cousin told me she saw her later that day, still wandering around with this box under her arm, looking frustrated. The ATM was literally a 3-minute walk away. But money confusion goes both ways. I was working in a duty-free shop at Singapore Changi Airport when an American guy tried to pay for whiskey with a $100 bill. Singapore dollars, not US dollars. Except he handed me an American 100. "I can't take this," I said. "Why not?" "It's $100. It's 100 US dollars. We use Singapore dollars here." "But dollars are dollars." I blinked. "Sir, these are different currencies. Singapore uses its own money." He looked at the bill like I'd told him it was counterfeit. "I've been using this in other countries." "Nobody complained?" "Where?" "Ecuador. And, Panama, I think?" "Those countries use US dollars. Singapore doesn't." He seemed genuinely surprised by this information, like he'd assumed the word dollar meant universal currency. I directed him to the currency exchange counter near gate C4. He walked away, muttering something about how they should really make that clearer. The measurement thing comes up constantly, too. I was working at a car rental place in Ireland when an American couple asked how many miles to Galway from Dublin. "About 200 kilometers, I said. "How many miles is that?" "Roughly 120 miles. The guy pulled out his phone and started converting it himself, like he didn't trust me. Then he asked, "And how many gallons will that take?" "We sell fuel in liters here." His wife jumped in. "How are we supposed to know how much gas to buy?" "The car has a fuel gauge. You fill it when it gets low." "But how much does it hold?" "About 50 liters." They both stared at me. Blank faces. The husband finally said, "We're just going to need that in gallons." I did the math for them. Roughly 13 gallons. They seemed satisfied but annoyed, like I'd personally invented the metric system to inconvenience them. The whole drive on the left thing also caused issues, obviously. They'd already asked me twice which side of the road they should use. I told them twice. They asked again when I handed them the keys. When they left the parking lot, I watched them almost turn into the wrong lane before correcting at the last second. I didn't see them again, so I assumed they survived. Temperature was another constant issue. I was helping out at a hostel in Reykjavik during the summer when a young American guy, maybe 22, asked what the weather would be like tomorrow. "About 15 degrees, I said. His face went pale. 15? That's freezing. Like way below freezing. Celsius, I added. What? 15 degrees Celsius. That's about 60 Fahrenheit. Oh, he laughed nervously. Right. Yeah, I knew that. He definitely didn't know that. He'd already started Googling winter jackets on his phone. Working as a waiter in Barcelona taught me that food is where cultural confusion hits hardest. Americans have very specific ideas about how restaurants should work, and Spain is basically designed to contradict every single one of them. It was a Tuesday night, around 9 p.m. A family walked in. Parents, 2 kids, maybe 8 and 10 years old. They sat down and immediately started looking around for menus. I brought them water and menus. The dad looked at his watch. "We're kind of in a hurry," he said. "We need to eat fast because we have a show at 10. In Spain, getting food fast at 9 p.m. is not really a thing. 9 p.m. is when people start thinking about dinner. But okay, I took their orders quickly. Got it to the kitchen as priority. The problem started when I brought the food out. The dad had ordered paella. The mom had ordered tapas to share. The kids got pasta. The dad looked at his paella. "This is supposed to be for 1 person?" "Yes, sir. This could feed 4 people. It's a standard portion." He just stared at it. The plate was huge. The portion was huge. That's how paella works here. You don't order paella for 1 person and get a little bowl. You get a feast. Meanwhile, the mom was confused about the tapas. "These are just appetizers?" she asked. "They're tapas. You ordered 4, but they're so small." "Yes, tapas are small plates. That's the concept." She looked disappointed. "In America, appetizers are bigger than this." I didn't know what to say to that. She'd ordered patatas bravas, croquetas, pan con tomate, and gambas al ajillo. That's a full meal in tapas form. But she seemed to expect something else. The real issue came when they tried to leave at 9:45. The dad asked for the check. I brought it. He looked at it and his face changed. "Why is there a charge for bread? You ate the bread, but we didn't order bread. You just brought it." "Yes, that's standard. The bread and olive oil come automatically. It's €1 per person." "That should be free." I tried to stay patient. "In Spain, we charge for bread. It's listed on the menu." "That's ridiculous. Bread is always free in restaurants." "Not here." He paid, but he wasn't happy about it. Left no tip, which was fine because we don't expect tips in Spain anyway. As they left, I heard him telling his wife that Spanish restaurants were nickel and dimming everyone. But the worst food confusion I ever saw was in Japan. I wasn't working there. I was just visiting a friend in Tokyo. We went to a small ramen shop in Shibuya, the kind where you order from a vending machine outside and hand your ticket to the chef. An American woman was standing at the machine, completely frozen. She'd been there for at least 3 minutes. The line behind her was growing. People were getting impatient. My friend walked up. "Do you need help?" "I don't understand this thing," the woman said. "Why isn't there a menu?" "The machine is the menu. You pick what you want and it prints a ticket." "But I can't read Japanese." Most of the buttons had small pictures. Ramen bowls, gyoza, drinks. Pretty clear, but the woman seemed overwhelmed. "What do you want?" My friend asked. "Just regular ramen. With chicken." My friend pressed the button for shoyu ramen. The machine dispensed a ticket. The woman took it and went inside. 5 minutes later, we heard her arguing with the chef. She was speaking loud, slow English at him, like that would help. I said, "No pork. I want chicken." The chef didn't speak English. He just pointed at the bowl. Traditional shoyu ramen comes with chashu pork. That's standard. If she wanted chicken, she needed to order chicken ramen, which wasn't what she'd selected. My friend went over and translated. The woman got frustrated. "Why didn't someone tell me that?" "The picture on the button shows pork," my friend said. I didn't look at the picture. I just picked something. Eventually, they made her a new bowl with chicken, but she left a bad review online later, saying the restaurant didn't accommodate dietary restrictions and refused to modify orders. The restaurant had literally made her a custom bowl. They just didn't understand her at first because she was yelling in English at a chef who spoke Japanese. In Mexico, I saw something different. I was visiting a friend in Oaxaca who ran a small cafe. An American couple came in and ordered coffee and chilaquiles for breakfast. When the food came out, the woman looked confused. Are these nachos? No, señora. Chilaquiles. They look like nachos. They're fried tortillas with salsa and eggs. Different from nachos. The woman took a bite. Made a face. These are really spicy. My friend had made them mild. Like kindergartner mild. Barely any heat at all. Do you want sour cream? My friend asked. No, I just want them not spicy. My friend didn't know how to respond to that. The dish was already as mild as it could be while still being chilaquiles. She offered to make plain scrambled eggs instead. The woman accepted, looking annoyed. Her husband, meanwhile, was putting ketchup on his chilaquiles, just drowning them. My friend watched in quiet horror. In Mexico, putting ketchup on chilaquiles is like putting ketchup on sushi. You just don't do it. But the guy seemed happy. He finished the whole plate, left a nice tip, told my friend the food was pretty good for Mexican breakfast. My friend still talks about the ketchup incident. She says she's seen Americans do it 3 times since then. The language barrier creates the most memorable moments, not just because of miscommunication, but because of how confidently wrong people can be. I was working at a tourism information center in Florence when an older American woman came in asking about the Michelangelo. You mean Michelangelo? I asked. Yeah, Michelangelo. The statue guy. His name is Michelangelo. One word, she waved her hand dismissively. Whatever. Where's his David statue? I gave her directions to the Galleria dell'Accademia. She seemed satisfied. But before she left, she asked, Is Leonardo DiCaprio's stuff nearby too? I paused. Do you mean Leonardo da Vinci? Sure, him. I explained where to find da Vinci's work. She left happy, calling them both by their wrong names to her husband. Language mix-ups get even better when Americans try to speak the local language. I was working at a hotel in Munich when a guest came down and proudly announced, Ich bin warm. In German, that means I am gay. He meant to say, Mir ist warm, which means I am hot, as in temperature. I kept a straight face. Das ist schön für Sie. He smiled, thinking he'd nailed it, and went back upstairs. My co-worker and I tried not to laugh. But the best language incident happened to my friend who works at a pharmacy in São Paulo. An American guy came in and asked, in very slow English, Do you have tampons? She said yes and showed him the aisle. He looked confused. No, not those. Tampons. For my ears. For your ears? Yeah, tampons. You know, the little plugs? She realized he meant earplugs. In Portuguese, earplugs are tampões de ouvido, but he'd somehow thought tampon was the English word for earplug. She corrected him gently. He turned bright red. Oh God, oh no. I've been asking for those at 3 other pharmacies. Sometimes the translation goes the other way. I was at a restaurant in Casablanca when I overheard an American man trying to order chicken. Poulet, he said confidently. The waiter nodded. Oui, poulet. No, I want chicken. The waiter looked confused. Yes, poulet is chicken. Stop saying that word. I want chicken. You know, the bird. Chicken. My friend who was with me leaned over. Sir, poulet means chicken in French, the man blushed. Oh, right. I thought he was saying something else. He'd been to Morocco for 4 days and somehow hadn't learned that French was commonly spoken there. But my favorite translation story comes from a guy I met in Thailand. He was working as a tour guide in Chiang Mai when an American couple asked him about Bangkok. We want to go to Bangkok, the husband said. My friend kept his composure. You mean Bangkok, the capital city? Yeah, Bangkok. How do we get there? It's pronounced Bangkok. One word. Kok rhymes with rock, the wife laughed. Oh my God, we've been saying it wrong this whole time. They'd been in Thailand for a week. They'd been mispronouncing the capital city the entire time, and nobody had corrected them until now. Geography knowledge also creates problems. I was working at a museum in Budapest when an American asked me if we accepted euros. No, we use Hungarian forints. But you're in Europe. Yes, but not every European country uses euros. Hungary uses forints. He seemed skeptical. That seems inefficient. I didn't know how to explain that countries have sovereignty over their own currency. I just directed him to the ATM. Later that day, another American asked me how far Budapest was from Paris. About 1,500 kilometers, I said. So like a 2-hour drive. No, more like 14 hours. She looked shocked. Europe is bigger than I thought. I see this constantly. Americans assume Europe is tiny because the countries are small compared to US states. But the distances are still real. You can't just pop over to Paris from Budapest for lunch. The worst geography moment was in Sydney. I was helping out at an event when an American asked me if we got kangaroos in the city. Sometimes, I said, but usually they stay in more rural areas. But you see them every day, right? No, I live in the suburbs. We don't have kangaroos just hopping down the street. She seemed disappointed. But you're in Australia. It's a big country. Kangaroos don't live everywhere. She asked if we had koalas in the city. We don't. They're in specific habitats, mostly north of Sydney in eucalyptus forests. So, what animals do you see every day? She asked. Birds, dogs, cats, possums at night. That's it? Yes, we're a city. It's like New York, but with different accents. She walked away looking let down, like I'd told her Australia wasn't real. The strangest encounter I ever had was in rural Kenya. I was volunteering at a community center near Nairobi when an American couple showed up. They were doing one of those voluntourism trips where you pay a lot of money to pretend to help for a week. They'd brought supplies from America. Good intentions, wrong execution. The woman pulled out a box of Band-Aids. We brought these for the kids. Our coordinator smiled politely. Thank you, but we have medical supplies already. But these are American Band-Aids. They're better quality. The coordinator's smile tightened. We have a fully stocked clinic. We're a community center, not a refugee camp. The couple seemed confused. They'd clearly expected to arrive and save everyone with their box of cartoon character bandages. Then the husband asked, "Do you have Wi-Fi?" "Yes." "What's the password?" Our coordinator gave it to him. He typed it in and frowned. "It's really slow." "Yes. Welcome to rural Kenya. Is there anywhere with faster internet?" "Nairobi. About an hour drive." He looked at his wife. "Maybe we should have stayed in Nairobi." They lasted 2 days before leaving early. Left a review saying the program wasn't as immersive as expected, and the facilities were lacking. The facilities were fine. They just weren't American facilities. But here's the thing. Most Americans abroad aren't like that. Most are curious, kind, and genuinely trying to understand new places. The ones who mess up usually do it innocently. They've just never been taught that the rest of the world works differently. American education doesn't focus much on other cultures. American movies and TV shows don't either. So when people finally leave the country, everything feels backwards. I've seen American travelers adapt beautifully. I've seen them learn to love tap water and metric systems and restaurants that charge for bread. I've watched them figure out train schedules and currency exchanges and how to say thank you in 8 different languages. The roasting comes from love, honestly. We make fun of the confusion because it's funny, not because we hate Americans. Every country has tourists who do silly things. Americans just happen to do them confidently, which makes the stories better. And these stories? They never stop coming. Yesterday, I had an American ask me if Austria and Australia were the same place. Tomorrow, someone will probably try to tip in a country that finds it offensive. Next week, I'll watch another traveler mispronounce something important and not realize it. It's exhausting sometimes, but it's also the best part of the job. Because every confused face, every innocent question, every "wait, that's how you do it here" moment reminds me that the world is bigger than any of us realize. And learning that lesson, no matter how awkwardly, is what travel is really about. I study those moments full-time, how travel quietly rewires the human brain. Every week, I unpack new patterns like this one. Subscribing doesn't help me. It helps you see the world with a sharper lens before your next trip even begins.